Yo, 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 it's the Lived Experience Zone. It's your boy Anthony Ant Williams coming to you live one more time with another banger. Right now, I got three of my closest friends from the Mexican American Chicano community. My boys come up in here to chop it up with your boy today. Um, Welcome to the show. Today, we're highlighting the journeys of their success in honor of Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. We're going to explore how they balance work life and well-being. So thank y'all for coming on the show today. This is really an honor and a privilege to have y'all on the show for us to chop it up. You know what I mean? We often chop it up about life things like in our own little just meeting of the minds. I figure it's time for us to come together and try to try to share some of the insights that we have with people out there that might want to learn how we do what we do and how y'all do what y'all do so effectively. So I want to thank y'all again for coming on the show. So without further ado, let's get to it. Let's get to it. Let's get to it. So let's start by having each each one of y'all introduce yourselves. Can you share a little bit about who you are, what it is that you do, what inspires you in your daily life? And I want to kick this off with my boy Tavo up top. Yeah, if you can just tell us a little bit about yourself, what it is you do, what inspires you, or anything you feel just as an introductory you want to just share with us right now.
I gotcha. Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for having me back on the Lived Experience Zone. And I really appreciate the space of being not only with three colleagues but three friends, three close friends, and discussing uh, a very essential but a crucial topic, as not just mental health, but it's kind of focusing a little bit more on our culture. You know, so having said that, I'll say yes, I'm first generation American, coming from Mexican parents. I'm the first one born here. Growing up, I did mental health was not considered. I was actually considered a weakness. It wasn't acknowledged at all in a good sense. But um, I don't. Now that I look back, I could see possibly how there's mental health, some concerns in the family, but again, we just never really acknowledge it. But personally, I come from lived experience in a variety of senses: low income, abuse, violence growing up, incarceration. It's both sides of the border, and then off to prison at the age of 18, and spending about 22 years. Well, spending 22 years incarcerated. And now that I look back, I could see how possibly mental health, or not being able to cope with, or not even understanding really how it influenced all my decisions, and then to my incarceration, and even being incarcerated, how that system really, I think, aggravated now um, what I was going through. I was released. Well, due to my gang affiliations in the prison yards I was at, it was frowned upon to seek mental health inside. So when I got released 6 years ago, I wasn't fully prepared to what I was going to experience. So I think for in my last 6 years of being incarcerated, I think for the last probably 5 years, 4 years, really, my mental health took a hit. Fortunately, I had emotional intelligence. We had studied that, so I had that aspect to myself. But now I use that lived experience, especially with mental health, particularly mental health. It's one of the reasons why I went and earned a master's in clinical rehab counseling, and now that's what I really focus on: mental health, substance abuse, but really co-occurring disorders in the reentry community. That's where I'm really starting to focus on. So that's a little bit about myself.
Thank you for that, Tavo. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Appreciate that, Tavo. Now I'm gonna kick it over to my boy Caesar. Caesar, what's you?
How's it going? How's it going, fellas? Thank you for sharing that thought, and it's a pleasure to be with all of you here today. Thank you for having us and me on the Lived Experience Zone. This is my first time on the show, but I'm excited to be here, and especially talking about mental health, one of these components that, as Tavo touched on, also often goes overlooked. For myself, that's one of the areas where I see that I really need to put a little bit more emphasis on and really figure out how to better care for myself as I navigate both, the academic world that I'm still in, working towards that master's degree, but also balancing that life, my personal life, with also work. And for me, being a high performer in my field, sometimes that's a difficult area to really have balance. So learning how to navigate things with an imbalance. For me, I served about 7 years in prison. I was originally supposed to serve a life sentence, and thankfully things played out to where I was able to come home. But as Tavo mentioned, also, in the yards that we were at, we weren't really able to tap into mental health. And for me, also, it was never a thing that I felt I even needed. Culturally, it wasn't something that I was educated on. My family, we were never really exposed to that. And it wasn't until actually when I came home at San Diego State that I was able to tap into some of the mental health resources that they had there and really start to explore some of those things about myself that even though I had taken some time over the years while I was incarcerated to reflect on and think about, I didn't really have anybody to guide me on how to process what I had suppressed for so many years. But that's a little bit about me. I'm excited to be here with you guys talking about some of these topics, and I'll pass it on to Haciel.
Absolutely, Caesar. Thank you so much. And I just want to say thank you so much, Anthony. It's fantastic. It's a long time coming for us to come together and kind of speak. I know we do this off camera. We kind of come together and discuss different topics in a friendly manner, in a formal manner, different ways. So it's a pleasure to be here in this way. It's going to go a long way as well, for sure. I believe so. This is the beginning of something that's going to continue to grow and expand. And it's important to get those voices out there, right? So personally, my name is Haciel Sanchez, and I'm a first generation born here in the United States. I'm very happy and content that my family went through what they had to do to get to this nation and pretty much do what they could to get that future going. Let's go ahead and let's go. Let's progress. And so, I mean, that's a very hot topic, definitely even today, right? But alongside of that, I'm a first generation also business owner, first generation college graduate, university graduate. Just recently got both my bachelor's in accounting and also my master's in accounting information systems. And so one of the things that you mentioned in the question is what is something that inspires us, right? What it kind of motivates us. And I think as entrepreneurs, I am very big on we have this responsibility, this duty to have this social responsibility to ensure that businesses have a social focus, right? What is this business doing? Not just the focus on profits, but how do we, cultivate prosperity in our communities? And so financial literacy is something that I'm very huge on, and I want to get that knowledge and bring it to the communities that need it the most. And so that's my big motivator. That's my big driver. And so, but in that process and going through all the motions, because I've also, as you can see here at the bottom of my description, REDX, right? Reentry, tax, and extended services. I am also somebody who's been just as impacted, and I could definitely go into that and a little bit more. But I think the focal point here is the struggles that we go through as we try to accomplish these goals, right? How that takes a toll potentially in our mental health, culturally, how that has an impact, right? What were our circles of influence, how we navigate that. And so with that, I'm very excited to go ahead and share my knowledge and my experience with the people who care to listen.
All right, thank you for that. I appreciate that. Very powerful introduction, because it's something that something like somebody like me, like I can't do it. Like I can't speak from an experience and what that feels like a Mexican American man from the Chicano community. I can't do that. Like vice versa. Like I'm African American, like you wouldn't be able to do that. And I was just thinking though, while we're going through this though, I'm gonna challenge one of y'all in the end to come back on the lived experience zone when I do find two other people, African American men, that are gonna be here on the show, and I'm gonna throw the mic to one of y'all. So I'm gonna see who gonna want to step up to the plate for that and then do that, because I feel like I do want to. When I'm looking at y'all on the screen, I'm thinking like, wow, I want to be on the other side of this, because I feel like I have some insights and lived experience to share also too. So we'll talk about that a little bit more in the end, just to get that out there. Thank you for sharing that. I'm really looking forward to diving into these stories. Growing up as Mexican American men, what were some of the key influences that shaped your views on work, education, and success? What were some of the key influences that shaped your view on work, education, and successes? If anyone want to share a little bit about what that looks like.
You want me to go ahead and jump in there?
Go ahead.
I'll go ahead and get this one started. For me, I I think a lot of the things that influenced me, some of them were, or how would you say, subconscious. Like I wasn't really realizing how it was influencing me, but a lot of it was from growing up in the streets. My family was, I skipped this in the beginning, but I'm also first generation Latino in here in the United States. And for my family, when they jumped over here to the US, they spent a lot of their time working. So my pops was away from the house most of the time. My mom was at home trying to raise three young men. And so we took to the streets. We spent a lot of time on the streets. Back then, it was also like more normal for kids to be out on the streets playing ball, riding bikes, kind of normal stuff. But I started to get into those teenage years. You start to see certain things. As you're walking by, the walls riddled with graffiti and the homies kicking it out in the front, grilling, drinking, just kind of hanging out. It seemed very normal to see that as a regular way of doing things, and when I would look at my uncles, for example, growing up, a lot of them worked in construction and some sort of labor field. And to me back then, making 35, 40, $50 an hour was a lot of money. And so I used to think like, oh, when I grow up, I want to make $35 an hour. And that seemed like a lot of money. Like that, I wasn't really exposed to much more beyond that. When I was in high school, like I think it it took about until around that time for me to drive north of the 54. If it wasn't to like Disneyland or something as a kid, other than that, like we didn't really travel north of the 54 National City. So south of National City, right here in San Diego, it's all predominantly Hispanic communities. So a lot of us go into construction work, landscaping work, a lot of service type work. And that was like the extent. I didn't really grow up thinking like, oh, I want to be a lawyer, or I want to be a doctor, or anything like that. Or even I want to go to school. Like that just wasn't really a thing. So a lot of those things kind of started to shape my vision of what I would see for myself. And a little bit later on in life, as I met certain people when I got into college, there was a couple people that planted the seed in me to try to pursue what an education can open up for me. And that I really stepped into education not knowing what could possibly come of it, just kind of seeing like, well, I know what's on this side of me not doing education, so like let's go and find out, and what else, what other opportunities could open up.
Okay, yeah. Thank you for that, and that's that lived experience package right there, because it's like your lived experience already. You already had the experience. What I'm hearing you saying, the knowledge of what that one side of the fence already looked like. Like you gathered all the data, you've seen what it looked like. Now it's like, you know what? Let me take that and add something else to it. What it sounds like I'm hearing you saying is like, you know what? Somebody piqued your interest and said like, let me try this education thing. Let me see if I can delve into this a little bit and see what avenues or what doors it may open, because I know how to survive. I have survival skills, and what I picked up from seeing, people in my community that's surviving and they trying to, take care of family or do what it is they're doing. It's like, okay, I got all of that data already. Let me combine the two. That sounds like that's what I'm hearing you saying. I appreciate you sharing that with us about how that transpired. Your outlook on what education could add into it, that different component. Appreciate you sharing that. Tavo and Hasiel, anyone y'all want to jump in on the question? You want me to repeat the question?
I got it. I got it. Yeah. For me, education. So as regarding the formal education, I lost interest in it pretty quick. Probably, I don't know. By the time I hit sixth grade, I think when I really hit sixth grade is when I really lost interest in it. And a lot of it had to do because I grew up in poverty on both sides of the border, in El Centro and Peru County, and I really didn't see anybody that would benefit from higher education, like, or at least formal education, right? Um, and who knows, maybe there was people, but I just didn't see them. I didn't see people that I could relate to that looked like me. And even though I think it was in fifth grade or no, sixth grade, was it fifth or sixth grade? I won student, the last one I won Student of the Month award So I was a pretty sharp kid. I just, again, I lost. So by the time I hit junior high, I was definitely done with it. I just didn't understand, though. I was getting informal education, kind of like Caesar. It was more in the community. Watching under, how should I say, getting up at 3 in the morning already at 10 years old and learning how to develop a work ethic, how to put things together, be critical, hustling, but in a good way already as a little kid. Make yourself useful, knowing how to speak people, how to greet people. Uh, it was an informal education, but again, it was from the context, or from the perspective of a poor person, poor culture. But it was still beneficial, which kind of put set a foundation for me. Even until now, I still use it. But back then, yeah, the what would you consider formal education wasn't working for me. I grew up with callus on your hands was a badge of honor, but there wasn't that financial literacy aspect to it. We didn't know how to invest or save, so we're kind of always living paycheck to paycheck, needing assistance. But not until probably my 20s, when more of the formal education started coming into the picture, and then probably until my late 20s and 30s is when I started to understand and really appreciate the street education from the homies, from what I learned from my mom, and that poverty culture from both sides of the border, and then the formal education, the higher, the college stuff. It's when I started to really grasp. I mean, even now, I'm learning other aspects of education, but um, probably into my 30s when I really hit where, what, education is just really information. Where do you get information? Who's feeding you information? How is it being fed? How are we interpreting it? And how are we exercising it? But that came into probably, yeah, later into my 30s. Yeah, yeah, thank
Real
you.
talk, real talk. We're looking out Tavo for expounding on that a little bit, or the areas you identify with what Caesar was saying. For sure. You most definitely one of the people that I know, like in the community, that just really wanted us to understand like the benefits, and not just relying on the lived experience, but adding that data and that extra component on how it can benefit you when you are putting forth effort to be successful in school. And you, one of the first people that I seen do that was like, you know what, you got lived experience, like we all have it, but what are you doing with it? Like, or how are you using that to leverage it when you are showing up academically? Because um and it seems like it's taking off now, where people are like doing something that we've been doing in the trenches for a long time. Like lived experience now is like really starting to open up an area where the world is listening to it and saying like, you know what, like, okay, we have the books, we have the data, we have the lectures, but what about giving the people that actually living in those environments the opportunity to, you know, have access to, like, leverage themselves economically, or, what I mean, emotionally, just be in those spaces to be seen and be heard, just be at the table. And, what I mean, be at the table, just allow them people to have a seat at the table that's actually going through it. You remind me of when I was at work, I was talking to one of my employees about that, and they were saying, like, I don't understand what's going on with the social workers, what's going on. I said, I understand. I have a bachelor's in social work. I say a lot of times when people go through school, they learn about these models and theories and everything, but they don't internship somewhere different outside of the communities that they're about to serve. So when
Right.
they go into the field and they trying to go help, the African American community or the Chicano community, if you have an intern in Barrio Logan, you have an intern in Southeast, and you haven't gone those places, and now you're in the job working with the people, sometimes you don't understand where they are. Like, everybody don't have access to resources the way you do. So I appreciate that, Tavo, for elaborating on that. Hastiel, you want to bring us home with that question?
Absolutely. Just for the audience and for myself as well, can you repeat the question?
The question is, growing up as a Mexican American man, for directed towards you, what were some of the key influences that shaped your views on work, education, and success?
Okay, absolutely. So thank you for that, and thank you for everybody sharing. But I'll dive right into it. Let's think about to walk you through this. Think about the sphere of influence that I had, right? The sphere of influence, and we're gonna break that down into rings of influence, right? My first ring, I'm gonna talk about my family, the nuclear family, right? I had the privilege, or my upbringing happened to be a nuclear family where my dad, my mother, and my siblings were present. So I'll go ahead and expand there in a bit. But the second ring is going to be the schools I went to, the neighborhood where I grew up in, and my extended family, right? Cousins, friends, and that sort of thing, right? The third ring is going to be societal, right? It's just the largest one, where the kind of music that I listen to, the videos that I watch, and even further, the location where I was at growing up, and even further, the events that were unique to the time period and location that took place, right? So those three rings, keeping in mind as I kind of go through my sphere and influence as a Hispanic in the growing up in the 90s and 2000s in the area. So just to bring some context to everybody listening. So we're talking about San Diego, talking about National City, Chula Vista, San Isidro, which is one of the borders to Tijuana, which has its reputation. It's super busy. Go ahead and look it up. There's tons of stuff, right? It's one of those big international borders in the planet. So, and everything that's going on, all the histories there. So that's where I grew up. That's the context in the 90s. So you even then researching that time period in this area, you could see some ideas and some musics that were around, some music that was around. So kind of narrowing it down though, my parents coming in the family household, being Hispanic, Latino, Spanish is the first language that you hear. The type of food that you're eating, the type of morals and values that you kind of see is from my pops. I learned that you got to go ahead and work as hard as you can to put food on the table, no matter what it takes. So I learned extreme work ethic, which is something that is ingrained in me. I feel, I don't know if you can see it, bags under my eyes type of thing. Like I work hard, even to the point of exhaustion. And I think that that's what you got to do. I don't have callus on my hands, kind of how Tao was talking about. It's a pride kind of thing. If you have callus in your hand, meaning you're working hard, you're working construction. I know construction, don't work that. I do accounting, I do typing, I do that sort of thing, right? So even then, it's kind of a joke thing, like, you're not really working. Yeah, you're not really. Something that's unique to Hispanics, Latinos, or that sort of thing is this concept of ni de aquí, ni de allá. You're not from here, you're not from over there. We go to Mexico, it's like, bro, you're not really Mexican. You come to the US, you're Mexican. So it's like this you're not included in one. You're not truly one or the other, right? So we're listening in between. That's one of the psychological things that have kind of over us. But in the household, like I said, working with my dad, he works long hours. He's away. He comes back, food on the table. From my mother, I learned unconditional love. I've learned these walls and doors and whatever. This house, this house becomes a home. That's what I learned from my mother. Unconditional love and kindness. I got you no matter what. From my brother, from him, I learned entrepreneurship. From him, I learned that you could break ceilings without a formal education. And he learned, just he is the one who bought me a bicycle because he couldn't, because he never got a bicycle from our dad. So that's what I got from my brother. From my sister, I learned love yourself, be happy, be free, you're good, no matter what. So that's the nucleus of what my influence was. Expand that to my neighborhood, everything I saw, it was pretty normalized. Like Caesar said, these acronyms on the wall, right? You see an acronym. What does that mean? I don't know. It's probably something. It became normal to see drugs, being offered drugs. It became normal to see unhoused individuals. It became normal to hear gunshots every now and then. It became normal. Like, that's how you grow up. Like, hey, what's going on over there, right? Like, that's your normal growing up. You walk out at night. Don't go out at night because, there's people hanging out over there. Watch out. That was my exposure in the neighborhood influence. Let's go ahead. And school too. Being a Spanish speaker, English is my second language, and I learned my English, let's say around 6, 7, 8, 9, around there, little bit with the neighborhood, right? It's always been black and brown, and white folks that might not have the socioeconomic status that they're typically quote unquote associated with. So that's my group, that's us, and so that's where I learned my English from. Certain things, certain music I was exposed to, Tupac, like that was lovely. Like that was the music that I identified to in the English sense. In the Spanish sense, it's corridos. Not that I heard that in the household, but as I grew up, like those are the ones that I was the two kind of musics, the rap and the corridos, which is kind of leads nicely into the third sphere, right? The third ring is listening to corridos, is listening to rap, and both we have so much commonalities. We're highlighting maybe because it comes from the social economic level. The moment we're rich or we get some money, we want the jewelry, we want the, and I joke about all the time, the crocodile skin, this and that, right? Like I joke about that because that's what we see in both cultures and even more cultures outside of that. So all that said, it kind of brings this idea that success was, you got to have the flashy car, you got to have the, the rings and the jewelry, you got to have that settled. Education, because of my mom, it was, you got to go to school. I don't know for what, but you got to make it, because I never got a chance. She got to sixth grade, that was it. But please go ahead and go to get your education. And for my pops, it was work as hard as you can, no questions asked, no complaints. So that was the setup coming in, and post a few things. That is still something that I'm negotiating with, but that has converted a bit. Now it's a story of wealth is found in the family. Wealth is found in, getting that house, that home, building that home is successful. But I also have that challenge that it's not just about that. I want that everybody to experience that. How do I do that? Financial literacy is what I determine is the reason what people need to hear. So that's kind of my influence. That's kind of led me to who I am at this stage.
Man, that was powerful. Man, most definitely like the way you broke it down in three rings and tied it all in. Like for sure, for sure. I remember we was at our graduation and you had your moms there and you was talking about like moms was like get your education, do your thing, and I was just like, oh man, I'm feeling that, man. I'm like the because I was always taught when you step into spaces, like you don't look for differences, you look for commonalities
Mm-hmm.
that connects you to people. Like you look for, it may be that one little thing that you connect to. Because when you look for differences, to me, they was. I mean, I was always taught like you look for differences, it kind of pushes you away. Like I don't know what they,
Right.
I don't know what's wrong with them. Like something wrong with them. When you see something that you can identify with, it makes it like you can humanize like somebody's experience and try to understand them. Where like this ain't about me. Like this, they trying to tell me something. Something's going on. So
Mm-hmm.
when I seen you say that, I was like, oh, I feel that. Like for real, for real. Like it's like you got to get it. Like school, you got to get it. Something is going on. And I think that's the thing that I've just been hearing. Like what you were saying, and when you was talking about, I think you said something about your sister. I was thinking about the time, just my commonality. Just listen to your story. I was like, I found my getting into my grave when I thought about my sister, like the small things she did when it was like cooking food or making like food or something. I was just like, damn, like life ain't like there's some positive in here. Like there's some things that happen in here that makes you look at life different. Like it ain't
Yeah.
like even though it's cloudy outside, it's still a good day. Like
Good day.
who says a bad day because the sun didn't come up? It's just the season. Like it's still a good day. You just find a way to make it work. So I appreciate that, man, with you breaking it down. You know what I mean? The business minds are speaking. Everybody, did their thing with answering that question. I'm gonna ask the next question. I appreciate everybody's insight on that for sure, for sure. Let's talk about a little bit about balance because I know that all of us, like in our space, like we in academia, we gather master's degrees, and Tavo's in this doctorate program, and we all starting businesses. Everybody got their business quotes up there, like got their companies up under their names. We all got things going on. Um, but it's oftentimes people don't see like how we balancing all these things. Like, what are we doing to take care of like ourselves? Like, because the theme of us having this conversation is around men's mental health. Like, there may be some thoughts or some ideologies or some things or whatever may be going on outside of what we're talking about, or just ways that people see us when they see us moving and they think like, because I often think when I see y'all three on the scene, when I see y'all, I'm thinking like, man, my boy Tabo doing this shit, my boy Hasil doing this thing, my boy Caesar doing this thing, but I don't really know, you know what I mean, unless I see something, unless we talk about something, which we do, but there may be people that may see us that's in spaces and wonder how we keeping everything together, how we balancing everything that we doing. So I just wanted to talk about a little bit about balance. Like how do you how do you balance like work life, like education life, like school life? How do you balance those things? Like what are you doing? Like uh have there been times where things fell out of balance and you didn't know how to recognize and respond to them? Like anything you want to share with us about how do you balance in those three things? And yeah, just how are you balancing these things? How are you balancing life? Like we all, for the sake of clarity, like we're all formerly incarcerated. We all experience a little bit of justice system. We are As the youngsters say, we all in our bag in some sense. Like we in our stuff. Like we out here. Like we citizens. Like we pay taxes. Like we got W-2s. Like we out here. But how do you go through all of that and see like the way you've seen it, and then balance it the way that you've been balancing it? I'm curious to know about that. I'll see how it go.
If it's cool, I'll go ahead and just take the lead on this one, just because I think my answer is going to be very short. I'm here to kind of learn still, right? Like I feel like there is no, it's in an imbalance for me. It's not imbalance. It's an imbalance for me. Like I work hard. I try to go do this and this. I say yes to this and this and that. Accomplish, go, go, go. And I feel like that's definitely taking its toll. Like absolutely taking its toll. So kind of how Caesar shared earlier, through the university that I was at very recently, I would say like maybe a few months ago, I went to my ever first therapy session to speak to a therapist. Right, like let me just get this out there, man. Like I am facing so many different things from every single like facet of my life that let me just go ahead and try this out. So I went and it was cool, but because of reasons and scheduling, it didn't happen anymore, right? And I still look forward to. I want to go to another session to go ahead and speak about, with somebody about to help me balance everything that's going on. But for me, so far, it's been an imbalance. I just go and pour everything I got for a specific amount of time, and then go ahead and move and pour everything over here for specific. I need a rest. Let me go over here. Now I got to go do this. So that's been my approach thus far. It's taken me somewhere, but I know it's not sustainable. So that's kind of where I'm currently at with it.
Let me ask you a follow up to that, just really short. I mean,
Right.
you can answer however you want to answer it, because you said
All good.
something, and I just want to dive in on that really quick, because I want to ask you a question about that. Because first of all, I see you, and I hear you 100%. Like you saying, there's an imbalance. Like I'm looking for some assistance. Like I'm looking for some resources. I'm looking for something. I'm looking for some help in trying to figure out like how to make this happen. Do you think that there is a, far as us as being men, because we all men in this space, to be able to ask for help? Do you think there's probably like a like like a shadow over that? Do you think there's like for men to ask for help? Do you think like there's like, sometimes people say things like men don't want to ask for help because they, in the sake of, they machismo, they just, so, I don't want to do that. Like,
Yeah.
you think that's like something that that happens a lot? Evidently it's not happening right now with you, because you're saying like, hey, I'm here to gather some information, like I'm telling you what's going on. Like
I, you know what, to answer it kind of briefly too, is like I think like, yeah, there is, right, historically, textbook wise too, and things like that, amongst each other, amongst peers, in the workplace, things like that. There's certain places where there's standards you probably shouldn't mention that's going to work against you, period. Don't say
Mhm.
that. Don't do it. It's going to expose a weakness. There's many pressures that might hit in, right? But so I think that takes some courage. It does take a little bit of self-understanding and being truthful to yourself. Like the biggest lie I could say, and I hate cliches, but the biggest lie I could say is lying to yourself, right? So it's like you need to understand your weaknesses and be willing to talk about. So one big step is kind of what we're doing right now, right? Like I'm thankful that we're doing this. I don't mind sharing as long as there's a sphere, we're in a space of trust. And I know it's going to go out to the public. So, but even then, like, yeah, we're pushing the boundaries. We're changing the narrative. We're kind of showing it's all good. We can talk about it. It's actually way better for you, for us, and for society if we kind of sit down and talk about it before it manifests itself in other ways. So let's go ahead and talk about it. So I would say, yeah, let's open the door to that. But yeah, there is, I would say there's still some stigma, residual or pretty much strong stigma around it. But that's where we're here today. I didn't even know it was mental health. I didn't even know it was a mental health month until you brought this up. I'm like, well, there's a month for people, for men, right? Like, so I'm like, cool, all right, let's get it.
Actually, I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. I'm gonna throw it to somebody. I think Caesar posted something on either Facebook or either
Oh, yeah.
Instagram or something, and I was like, "Holy crap! It's already 10 days. I gotta do something. I gotta get involved, because I know I'm in that area, and I know I'm always thinking about mental health and thinking about it. But I'm like, we gotta do something. We gotta be seen. Like we gotta participate in this process somewhere." So I'm like, so I'm with you 100%. Like I didn't even know. I was like, oh, we running out of time to at least be seen in that space. So I'll throw it over to either Caesar or Tavo. Anyone of y'all want to jump in there? Thanks, Haciel, for being vulnerable and sharing, brother. I appreciate it every time you speak.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Though, if you don't mind, my answer really, I really resonate with what you just shared, Hasiela, and like I think it's come up in different conversations that we've had, and when you sent over the questions that you had, I had when I sent you back that response, I switched it to imbalance also because it was like for me also it's like I've kind of in a way accepted that there's going to be an imbalance for now, and that for me it's not feasible to have everything balanced right now with trying to compensate for that lost time of all those years while I'm rebuilding and while I'm also unlearning old behaviors, breaking down some of these institutionalized ways of thinking. And it's one thing to reflect and be self-aware inside when you have 23 hours a day to sit in your cell and think about things, and to try and do that out here with everything that's going on in life. And over here, we actually get to put it into practice. And so when I look at how I navigate certain things, Hasil, you said it as well. Like a lot of times I know that it's not sustainable. Running on 3, 4, 5 hours of sleep a night for weeks at a time, it's not healthy. I feel it. People around me see it. I do my best for it to not affect my work output. But where I see it really have an impact the most is on my relationships. On my social life is basically non-existent. But I do try to carve out at least some sort of time, because I see it whenever my energy level, how upbeat I am, or the energy and that smile that I would typically walk into a room with, when it starts to fade away. I think you guys are a big component of how I am able to embed some of that self-care time, whether it's a night out with the fellas and we're here having conversations that also help process. A lot of the times the conversations that we have, they're things that we don't necessarily get to talk. For me, since I've came home, my relationship with my family became very strained, right? So off tops, the relationship with my son, for example, being away for his entire childhood and his early years, it really impacted the bond that we have. So it's been very difficult to navigate that. And for me as a father, that's one of those things that really affects me more than others. Not having that relationship, having those weekends with him, and not having any type of meaningful conversations, or kind of feeling that coldness in our relationship, it really messes with me. And sometimes I don't know how to deal with that. Sometimes I feel that as a dad, I'm not doing my part to really try more, but sometimes I just don't know how. I can't figure out how I can try to get closer to my son and how to build that relationship. In relationships outside of that, in intimate relationships, also, I've seen that sometimes, I can be a high performer at work, high performer in my academics, but when it comes to relationships, I've seen that also take a hit, because by the time I put 100% at work and 100% in my academics, it's very difficult to put that same 100% into that little bit of time that I have left over, when my energy is already drained at the end of the day. For me, I think a lot of the times I try to squeeze in an hour to do salsa. I've done that on some semesters, an hour to do some sort of exercise. But a big part of how I cope and deal with things is through sense of humor. And I think you guys have seen a lot of that sometimes when I'll bombard you guys with some memes and stuff. For me, I think a lot of times and going back to, doing time too, a lot of times how we dealt with things was trying to laugh and make light of certain things. For me, I think a lot of times it could have been the silliest thing that made me laugh, but that took me away from like the depression, or it took me away from that rage or that anger that I was feeling at the moment. And sometimes I know that it might be very difficult to navigate some of these things without getting at least some sort of laugh in there. So sometimes I think that's how I navigate that. But going back to as far as like the work life, I think that for now, in with the goals that I have, even though it's not sustainable in the long term, I I feel like I have to sacrifice a certain level of my own well-being, so that in the future my goal is for my son not to have to do that for his kids, and he can be more present the way that I wasn't able to be with his kids. And I think that's, for me, one step forward from what my pops was able to do for me. And even though it's not picture perfect, and I'm still missing out on a lot of time, meaningful time with my closest loved ones, my goal and my main objective is hopefully for them to not have to do that, and to be able to be more present for themselves, to enjoy their life, and have a healthier upbringing as they grow up. And also for my partner as well, having her be able to be not have to stress out over my burdens about my mental health, and really us being focused on like how we're gonna create a healthy, loving family when it comes to that time of building that family.
Yeah, okay, man. Thank you for sharing that, Caesar. Most definitely, man. I hear you 100%. Like the bonds that we, you know, have with our kids, and the yearning for more while we're trying to create some success after having a setback. I don't want to say a minor setback, because I always tell people, no matter how much time you spent, like sometimes people look. I don't know if Tavo experienced this, because we both was under the life around people like, oh, you did 20, or you did 30, or you did 15, I did 2, I did 3, I did 5, I did 7, and it's like they minimize the space of being away from society, away from the reality that you once knew. And I'm just like, no, your time mattered. Like something offset. Like your parents didn't get to experience the son. Like you didn't get to be the son. You didn't get to be the father, or the brother, or the uncle, or the whoever you have in your family. Like somebody in your cycle, your family dimension was missing that component of you. Like God created us all unique, or your higher power, or your spiritual being, or who you are. There can never be another me or another you. It's going to be identical to you. So somebody didn't get the experience, and you didn't get the experience that, of you being at, or experience other people's stuff. So I feel you when you say that. And we often have conversations, about that. When you tell me like, bro, I see you, like you on top of your thing, you with your kids, you doing your thing. But I share the same sentiment. Like my first son was 3 months old, and I went to the pen. I came home and I don't have a relationship with him. It irks me a lot, because I'm thinking like, damn. And I look in the mirror, I'm thinking like, I think I'm kind of cool dude. Like I'm shit. I'm like, where you at? I'm like, what the hell's going on? Like I'm here. Like I want to, like, you know what I mean? See what's going on. Excuse me. I touched my eye and I had some damn lotion on it or something. So but yeah, I'm like, so I feel you when you're saying that. It's like you want to trying to figure out like how to have that relationship with your son, and the things that you do. Often when I see you doing your thing with the workout, I'm just like, okay, you found an outlet to try to have some balance. But when I seen you shoot that back, you was like the imbalance. I'm glad you touched on that, because I was like imbalance, and I was like I couldn't connect it. I know what it meant, but I'm glad you added some context to it, because I wanted to see what it was, if you was contributing that too, or even bringing that up too to talk about. So appreciate you for sharing that and being open with us and being vulnerable enough to share us about some of your personal things that you go through, going through, and we're out here trying to make it make sense. I appreciate that. Um, say, last but not the least, Mr. Tavo, man, the man who don't seem like he sweat, don't seem like he bads it. How do you keep all this together? Because when I see you, bro, sometimes I'll be thinking like Tavo will be sharp on his toes, and I'm like, and I know there got to be some way where you have some imbalance where you balance it, or what's the way that you deal with the personal life and academic. And you're the first person that I didn't seen personally. I can say for me personally, I didn't witness somebody that come home with a gazillion AA degrees and then get on your stuff. I ain't gonna use the other word because I want to be able to share it with people. You got on your stuff, went from the bachelor's, into the master's program. Now you're a doctor, student, candidate, you're doing your thing. And we just want to know, man, how you what's going on with that? If it's an imbalance, a balance, like what is the how you accomplishing this? Like share, like bless us with that.
I gotcha. Yeah, there's some overlap with what CL and Caesar saying, but I want to emphasize to the imbalance. Um, Exterior wise, it looks like everything's good, and in some sense, it's yeah, I'm doing great in some aspects of my life, but in others, it's I damaged some stuff along the way. So, put in context, in 2006, I got my first psych evaluation. And I've had four more since then. Every time I've gotten diagnosed with something different, and a lot of it is going through as a lifer. We had to go through these psych evaluations, and then I got diagnosed again where I got evaluated again once I got released and got diagnosed for something different. Um, so 6 years ago, I got released, and yes, I've done great career wise, great. Um, but I neglected some things that I should not have neglected, which is family. I'm not from San Diego, like I said before. I'm from somewhere else, but I think in part because I got released as a 39-year-old man. I had no money, no clothes, no nothing. I felt I had to hurry up and catch up with society and get my assets and all my affairs in order. And at the same time, the machismo. I'm not gonna have somebody else provide for me. I didn't even want to get on EBT, so I didn't even know if EBT was a thing back then in 2019. But welfare, I didn't want to do it. I didn't like. I'm gonna go work. Um, and and I grinded since then. And it was interesting because I think it was probably like a year. Look, I'm currently a therapist. I'm a clinician. This is what I do, and it's easy to work and assist others, but it's difficult to take my own suggestion, my own advice, my own understanding. Um, I think I caught myself like probably a year and a half, 2 years ago. I caught myself and I realized I resorted back to what kept me in survival mode in prison was desensitize myself and convince myself mentally, you know what, I'm in prison. I can't bother with nothing else. And I got no control in the outside world. So this is me inside the prison walls. And out here, I think I resulted back to that. He goes, you know what? I'm not going to call family. I'm not going to go spend time with them right now because you know what? At the end of the day, I'm going to make good income. I'm going to get myself in a good position where I can have those liberties later on. And I think a lot of that came from being a man, being Mexican, being the idea of needing to be the provider and the protector. So yeah, it's I damaged some relationships, and some unfortunately, I think more. Yeah, I just leave it. I don't want to get too personal because I don't, go back to certain relatives, um, but it's interesting because but in the last, and like I said, my mental health I think has been actually getting better, especially in the last few months, about a year or so. But I just think I'm starting to come back. It's starting like I'm starting to feel more a little more human. But now I'm being much more mindful of that imbalance, what I neglected. 20 days ago, I had a baby, little girl, right? Um, and then 4 days later, after that, I I walked away from a secure job where I was doing well, but then the next day after that, I started a new position as a program director. Obviously, more income stuff, but at the same time, dealing with new policies, new systems, new personalities, new stigmas. Now, as a program director, is obviously now I'm in charge of things and more mindful. But here we go, balance. Um, things just changed. Priorities. Being mindful. Like I'm going home and making sure I attend to my needs as much as I can, considering, right. Fortunately, I got a great partner who's you know what, she goes, okay, I'm gonna take some a maternity leave, some time off, and she's a clinician. She has her whole career going on for herself as well. Um, but it's being mindful. Take care of my needs is what's essential. Um, and then going home, making sure, right. Fortunately, yes, I grinded and I'm in a good position financially now. Like we're just talking about health insurance. It's like I'm in a position now where okay, I'm gonna pay. I ain't tripping. I'll pay a little bit more. But the idea is covering that aspect of our finances is going to alleviate stressors, so we could focus on other things. And I don't mind. Here we go. Now it's intentional. Being like I don't want to screw this up again, right? Because I had everything with the family. Here you go. Once I got released, I screwed that up. Um, but and then I don't even know if it's healthy to hold the baby for over 2 hours straight. But I did that. Like, right? I just sat there and I'm doing my homework, and it's very like nice. I don't know. It's just a trip in the last 3 weeks, much more intentional. I'm hoping I'm learning from my lessons. Um, but yes, education. We could be as smart as we can be. I got all these fancy credentials behind my name, but we still gotta be mindful. I think still that aspect of being a man is still heavily influences me, and not always in a good way. So I would that's what I would say to the balance or imbalance of work, mental health, and other aspects of my life.
And thank you for that, Tavo. Most definitely, congratulations, man, to your new baby girl, man, for sure, for sure. Um, yeah, man, it's a whole lot to unpack. You most definitely you hit on the whole lot. Just like smooth operator, most definitely got that in there. Um, yeah, man, just seeing you do your thing, and then just watching how you position yourselves is most definitely, from a personal standpoint, what I mean, just seeing. I was just telling somebody that earlier today. I was like seeing people who um, don't, not afraid to make moves. Like you said, that's a lot of moves to make. Like you just had a new baby into the world, and then now you're going from new position, to other position. There's so much chaos going on in the world. It's like, okay, I'm making a jump, but then also being mindful of how those things affect other people. So it's like, and then just making sure that those moves are calculated and staying on point. Man, I most definitely appreciate seeing that lived experience, like seeing that displayed. Like, you know what I mean? It's like people always say, like, don't talk the talk, walk the walk. So, most definitely been walking the walk, and then just um, leaving the doors open. You know what I mean? One thing I appreciate about all three of y'all is like, and it's like never, like not leaving the door open for the next person. It's like it's yours to walk through it. If so, you see you can get in there. Like, come on, let's make it do what it do. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate the conversation on just the imbalance, because a lot of people do think like, man, how do you balance the things? It's like it's always gonna be like, when people always say something like, when is it a good time? It's like, when is it ever gonna be a good time? It's always gonna be something going on. It's like, what are you waiting for? A perfect situation? Is like, it's gonna always be something that's gonna be going on within there. Okay, well, I appreciate that, man. Appreciate you hitting on that, and just, what I mean, just elaborating on what that looked like for you, and how uh, dealing with life, and just allowing life to just show up in ways that it does. So I asked a short question. I know we've been here chopping it up just for a little bit, and I'm pretty sure this, like Hastiel said, this is the beginning of many more conversations that are going to be taking place. So I just wanted to know, when it comes to like mental health, is there something, or there's one place, is there one thing that, like, uh, if you had to define mental health, or what mental health means to you, or if you had to define mental health in like words or just a sentence, what does mental health mean to you? I'll start with, let's go with Tavo on this one. If you can define mental health, like what does mental health mean to you, or how would you define? If you can take mental health and people look at the word, because I remember back in the days back in the days, but a while ago, I want Caesar to go, damn, hit me with the Kevin Hart or some shit. I ain't gonna say my age. You can define mental health, and you can put it in. If you can take the word mental health and just give it your own way of like defining it, like what would that be? If it's a sentence, a quote, or something where people can be like, "Oh, okay, now I understand what they're talking about."
Yeah. Yeah, I will probably. So I'll go somewhere on the lines of saying personalize your own strength, your weaknesses, and being aware of your own sentiments. What's going on with yourself, and then how are you responding to life? And at the same time, accepting, embracing, and reframing our lived experiences. Um, it's I learned I struggled for a while in my own recovery of trying to get away. I fell into that trap of what I consider traditional treatment. They say get away from this, get away from that, and you have you're stigmatized, and we're going to fix you, and all this is wrong about you, and um, in my so out of all these years of education and working with others and myself, you know what, it's reframing your way of thinking. For me, I embrace all the good and the bad. I don't run from it. I don't hide. Hey, it's a part of who I am, and I'm learning from them. And I think that's what's kept me afloat. Um, yes, I've struggled as I gone, but you know what? I'm still running. I'm still moving forward. And I think a lot of it has to do with, hey, I am who I am. I'm Tavo. I'm not this other, superficial individual that's trying to, um, hide everything under a rug or brush everything up. Nah, this is who I am, the good and the bad. So that's what I would say. Mental health, just being, embracing, being aware of what we were going through and how we're responding to life.
Nice, thank you for that. RCL, you want to answer that? You want to repeat the question?
No, I could answer that. Thanks for that. That's good. That's really good. So I think it's just one word. One word comes to mind, and that word is alignment, right? Like, are you aligned? And what I think about that in the psychology concept of like cognitive dissonance, right? Like if you have something that you're trying to like certain value systems, right? Or you want to do something, and if they're not in alignment, there's going to be this internal conflict it's just gonna bug you. It's gonna be coercive to you. It's gonna be like, man, I don't feel right with something that I'm doing, and that's gonna, accumulate and just become something else in the future. So if you're not in alignment with your values, with your mission, with your love, your family, all these different categories that we have as humans, is are you fulfilling yourself in this area? Is this area being fulfilled? All these areas, am I doing it the right way as it means to me? That I'm not lying to myself, or that I'm not doing this to please somebody else, or this. Like, if you have that alignment, the closer you are to that, I feel the more you are like truly content. You're truly good, no matter what happens. I'm aligned. It's all right, and that's kind of like Tavo. I'm Tavo, right? Like I'm aligned. I'm good. So it's like I know that pre my situation many years back, when this whole story of mine, right, that I'll share in the future. But I wasn't in alignment. I realized at the moment I was, it all happened. I'm like, wow, I was, I wanted this very bad, but I knew it wasn't feeling right what I was doing. So, but I kept doing it because I have willpower. So I'm gonna continue that route. But it was not in alignment. Like, I'm here to help people. I'm here to grow spiritually, educationally, and do all these, be a father, be a good brother, all these other roles. But I wanted this other thing. And this was knocking every single thing out of alignment. Like, it was affecting my relationships, it was affecting this and this and that. And spiritually, that took me down. So it was like, that's what I mean about alignment. I think if you're aligned, all your stuff is correct, you're going to be good. I feel like that's mental health.
For the Mr. Masters in accounting, that was way more than one word, but
You always got to put crema on the tacos. You got to just like throw extra stuff on it.
that was a Mexican one. That was a Mexican one.
Yeah. Yeah, the Mexican one is amárrate, no hay pedo, hombre.
That was the three rings
Yeah.
of the one word.
Yeah.
All right, Caesar, you want to repeat the question, or you got it?
No, I got you, brother. So essentially, how would I define mental health, right?
Sure.
You gentlemen touched on a lot of it, and similarly to me, I think it just goes hand in hand with self care. So when I'm prioritizing my self care, when I'm setting aside that time for myself, when I'm doing things that fill my cup, when I'm spending time with loved ones that really help me also feel good about myself and uplift me and stuff like that. I realize that a different Caesar shows up when I walk into a room and when I walk into a space, and I have a tendency to always put myself last. Usually, when work and school and everything starts to come into play, usually the first thing to go to carve out more time is mental health. The first thing to go is my gym time. First thing to go is that nature walk. First thing to go is doing those little things that really help me be my best self. And when I'm not prioritizing my mental health, when I'm not taking the time to reflect on how I'm currently coping, and also in addressing some of those unhealthy coping mechanisms that I had developed over a number of years, uh, that has a detrimental impact on my mental health. And so when I don't prioritize myself, I start to see the effects trickle down into other areas of my life. This semester, I had a health situation that I hadn't experienced before, where I fell out on my second week of the semester, and we were barely starting, and I was just kind of like shocked at how that happened. Uh, until I sat down and thought about it, I'm like, how? I mean, this was very clear that this was very likely to happen when you're going 100 miles an hour and you don't want to put your foot off the pedal. At some point, you're going to exhaust yourself. And so when it comes to mental health, I think that, again, it just, I tie it to, for me, I tie it to the self-care component of, are you taking care of your emotions? Are you taking care of your physical health? Are you taking care of your nutrition, your diet and stuff like that? But also, are you taking care of your spirituality, your energy, how you are, again, how you're filling your cup and being able to recharge and reset so that you can continue to show up and bring that best version of yourself.
Nicely well put. Nicely well put. It seems like the theme is emotional intelligence, having some way of observing and looking at things that you do. And I think that's something. I'll say I think I'm just. I know we've been taught to do I statements. I'm gonna just step out on a limb there. I believe that something that we have as being formerly incarcerated, and being in situations where we have a lot of tools and a lot of skills that were transferable when we came home, like was working out, and you talked about being in the cell and like not having so much time to move around. Sometimes it's just like taking the time out from just things going on. Be like, man, I'm good. I'm just gonna relax for a minute and get some rest in, or slow down things a little bit, or go on a walk, or go on a hike, and go on things like that. Like I seen something you often do. With your 100 push-ups, 100 days challenge, which I almost got you, man. I remember I got to like that 98 that day we was in New Orleans, and I was trying to get that 99 one in there, and I started doing the breakdance thing. I couldn't get that. I was trying to get that 100 push-up in, I couldn't do it. But it's things like that that get you to like um to realize what was I doing there to survive in those situations, because I don't think people understand sometimes the extreme like pressures and the way those like being incarcerated, being away like that does, and you build up coping skills to deal with it sometime. I remember being in sales, and it's like, man, the store, the canteen ain't running, and you got, them supers, man, they running out, and you like, man, I gotta crack one in half now. You ain't even eating the whole one now. Now you busting that thing in half. So it's a lot of skills that we have that we cope with, like, keeping our sanity, you know what I mean? Keeping the things that we hold so dear, to trying to have some opportunity to get back out here and do what we do, man. So I appreciate that. The way y'all summed that up. I most definitely, like I said, gonna allow somebody else to get the mic and to turn it around a little bit, because I do want to share what that looked like, for me culturally, and what what that look like coming from the African American community. So when we want to wrap it up, we don't want to give them everything in one boat because I'm looking forward to chopping it up with y'all again about, you know what I mean, just about life, things that may be happening, or whether we just on here just shooting the breeze and coming up with a topic or something else. So I'm seeing big things with us chopping it up, but we want to make sure we, you know, just give them a little bit, keep them coming back. It's like, okay, man, I gotta go check in and see what they talking about. So I don't want to hold everybody. Know it's a Saturday and sun is out. San Diego finally the cloud. I done got spoiled. I'm like Tavo. I'm not from San Diego, but y'all done spoiled me already. When it start drizzling or the clouds come out, I'm thinking the world about to come to an end or something. I'm like, man, where'd the sun go, man? Where's the? I need to get outside. So the sun is out. So I know we got some stuff, but before we wrap it up, man, I'd like to thank, you know, each one of y'all for coming on and then reflecting, you know, about things that we've been through, like as far as like how we dealing with mental health, how we dealing with the imbalances of life, man. I want to know if it's still, you know, if there's anything that you didn't get a chance to elaborate on, anything you want to shout out before we wrap this up, and then, you know what I mean, come back for another session, you know, whether we continue this topic and just, you know, what's transpired, or is a 30-day check-in, just like, hey, man, what did you pick up? What did you learn? What was some, because I know I picked up some great insights. Now I know as a brother, as a friend, you know, as a homie, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I'm up in here with y'all. There's some things that I know that I need to be conscious of to make sure I'm doing my part when you saying like, hey, man, what's up, man? We need to have our check-in. So it just I thank you for sharing that. You know, this is, you know, deeper to me than just doing it on the podcast and just having certain things, even though we do chop it up, you know, off the camera. This ain't scripted and nothing like that either. Is there anything else you'd like to share with the listeners before we close? You know, just something you just didn't get a chance to highlight. And you was thinking like, hey man, I wanted to elaborate on that. So I'll give everybody. I don't want to put no time stamp on it, but you know what I mean, just be conscious of other people's. Something they tell us in school sometime, home we speaking, be conscious of other people. Everybody got, he be like, man, I got something to say. Sit down somewhere.
Right.
Go for it. Anybody want to
Yeah,
get?
yeah. No, well, thank you for having us, for having me on the Lived Experience show, man. This was a pleasure to have this conversation with you guys. For me, one of the things that I do want to, you know, touch on that I didn't go into is, you know, culturally, a lot of times when we're the first in our families to do some of these things that we're doing, whether it's first generation student, first generation business owner, first generation, whatever it is, a lot of times we don't have somebody to hold our hand through the process and help us navigate these things. And a lot of times while we're in the process of doing these things, the people around us might not understand. They might not understand how to support us, how to be there for us, how to encourage us. I want to encourage everybody to take small steps towards learning about addressing those things that trigger you, those things that make you get emotionally activated. Take small steps to understand yourself and what's making you, how are you responding. Take those small steps to try to focus on listening to your partner a little bit more. That's an area that I need to work on a lot. It's like stop listening to respond and really start to listen to understand, and shifting away from trying to get my point across to try and understand, because a lot of time I think that gets in the way of having a closer bond with one another in whatever extent of relationship it is. And for me, I think that that's something that I struggle with. I definitely need to put more emphasis on that. And if I can leave you guys with anything, it would be that just 1% better every day. You know, put one small step forward, just a little bit better, instead of trying to set these big goals and trying to take these big chunks towards changing things in your schedule and your routine. Just shifting just 1%, and little by little that'll compound, and you'll start to see that difference over time when you're consistently showing up for yourself, and just prioritizing our mental health, man. I know a lot of times for us as gentlemen, you know, it's very rare when somebody comes up to us and says, "Hey, how are you doing?" Like, and genuinely having a conversation about like how we're doing. And most of the time we don't respond genuinely. You know, we say we're good, we're good, we're golden, everything's straight. And on the surface, it might look that way. But I encourage you all, you know, tap in with those men in your life that that you see that are grinding, that are putting in the work, that are, you know, building those families, that are working towards their academia, working towards their careers, working on whatever it is that they're working with their kids. Like, we know how often and how seldomly we are checked on. So it's important for us as friends, as homies, as colleagues, that we check up on one another, because a lot of times, by the time people ask, sometimes it's too late. You know, sometimes we're already like struggling beyond like a point where we can salvage things, and sometimes we start to fall into destructive patterns and stuff. So definitely want to encourage you all to check up on one another, and lean on each other also, you know. And I really appreciate this group, and for having this conversation. Hopefully you know, the audience can take something of value with them. But thanks again for having me on the Lived Experience Zone.
Thank you for that. So
Yeah.
appreciate
Yeah,
it.
and I'll go to close off. I'll just say, there's been a taboo, right? There's this kind of stigma to mental health, mental illness, but I say it's actually a strength now. Now that I have much better understanding of it, I think that's what what our foundation should be. It's understanding, self understanding, and having the proper coping responses. I wish I was more intentional with it. I just years ago, like I said, fortunately, I had studied emotional intelligence, so I was aware of certain symptoms. I just didn't understand like the full context of mental health. But um, I would say it's not even that complicated. I would say mental health. It's really just what our thoughts are. Where, you know, what are we feeling, and a lot of it comes from our experiences. You know, and then these experiences are all subjective, based on how we interpret them and how we respond to them. So I wouldn't say there isn't. Is there more severe a sense of severity of who's going through what? It's all subjective to the individual. I did 20 plus years. It doesn't mean my stuff is more severe than somebody that did 2 years in prison. It's all subjective. But I would hope it just people just be open to the idea, at least, even if they're just still not understanding of it. Just be open to it. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate this. This is incredible. Let's go ahead and continue this. Something I wanted to touch base on was when I think about mental health. One of the things that I like to think about a lot of, philosophy type of thing, right? And I think depending, the struggle is different too. If your approach to society or life is, do you want your environment structured for you, or are you trying to structure it, right? Like in a way, if are you trying to conquer this, or you want a world already conquered for you, and you got to just do what you got to do with it, like ABCD, follow the script. So there's a different kind of stressors, different type of mental health that comes to both different, whatever your choice is. So I think in that process, personal advice that I would say that I would wish I could tell myself, or somebody who's trying to get into it, is you got to learn to say no. There's going to be a lot of opportunities as you continue to grow. You want to say yes to everything. Learn to say no. Know your value. Let's just imagine you come up with the number of what your time is worth. Add 25%, add 50% on that, or even double it, because that's how much more worth you are. Give yourself that value. Big thing for me that I'm still currently working on is get organized. You want to go ahead and get organized, because that could lead to issues and things you got to suddenly take care of, and managing by spot fire. You don't want to find yourself in that situation. Lastly, I want to say, go ahead and get some sleep, go ahead and get some exercise, eat well, and remember to enjoy life. Like Cesar was saying, and everybody like kind of touching base, burnout is very serious. Burnout can mean that you're suddenly no longer here. So celebrate life, and just let's go. We got one more. We breathing today. That means we got something that we could take care of. So that's kind of my signature. Thank you.
For sure, for sure. Appreciate that, gentlemen. Most definitely, it is. Sentiment on us just enjoying life and trying to find those things in there. Like a lot of times, I think it's hard for me to try to do it sometime, like that imbalance we was talking about, because it's like something we talked about. Like it's like, and I used to hate that too when I came on. I know hate is a strong word, even like the burnout word, but I became uncomfortable when people told me like, slow down. Like you can't make up for lost time. It's like I ain't trying to make up for nothing. I'm trying to get in the race. Like what are you talking about? Like I just gave you 22 years. Like if I was here when you was here in my, like I didn't have 30s, and you know what I mean, and didn't have 40. Like I'm trying to get in now. Like I ain't waiting until I'm 60 and trying to like, no, I ain't no, I gotta get in here. And it's like a lot of times trying to find that enjoying of life and trying to do something within there is like you gotta start setting, I was having a conversation with somebody too that I was like giving them some insight on something. It was like this work. And I was like, dude, you got the house, you got the money, you got the car, you got the everything. Like you're already 60. What are you waiting for? Like you ain't planning no vacations in between there, like 3 months, 6. What are you waiting for? Like you gotta have some way to have some leisure time to balance out because there's just too much going on in the world. So to not try to have some leisure time in there, some like I said, some emotional intelligence to know like I need sleep or I need to change my diet or I need to work out. Like I know a lot of people look at workout and they think it's like I'm trying to get buff or I'm trying to get stronger, but it's like I'm trying to keep my body working the way it's supposed to work. I'm trying to keep the chemicals out of my system and keep the blood flowing and keep my hygiene. I was talking to my staff about that. Like maltreatment and neglect certain things. Like I want to I remember when I was in the pen, like I used to brush my teeth in the morning, at night, all the time. Like I'm on that thing, like probably beating my gums up because I'm like on the routine. Now I'm like nights I go to sleep and I'm just like, oh, I'll do that shit tomorrow. I'm just like get up and then flossing in the morning and go crazy with it in the morning. But I'm like certain habits that plays into our health, our well being, so to say, that we just got to keep intact and then make sure that we like keeping those skills intact. Well, I appreciate y'all for coming on. Most definitely, this has been most definitely enlightening to me and educational for me just to understand like what's going on. Like I know, like I say, we have conversations like off the script and on our own, so we most definitely like chop it up with each other just on a normal basis. Well, I appreciate y'all, man. This is mental health, Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, which I probably will never forget it again. Now it's June 2025, and I appreciate y'all for coming in space, man. Once again, man, this is the lived experience zone, and these are my brothers, like right here, man. Like man, I appreciate y'all, man. Words, I can't even put it in words, man. I don't even. Man, I'm gonna stop while I'm ahead because I
Thank
can't
you. Thank
words.
you for thank you for having us, and this was a cool conversation to have, and hopefully we can continue this as well moving forward.
For sure, for sure. Well, I appreciate y'all, man. I wish y'all well for the rest of the day, man. We gonna. So, I got anybody got anything final to say? I'm about to. We about to hit the end, and then we about to let this thing do what it do. All right, man. Appreciate y'all once again. It's the Lived Experience Zone. It's your boy Anthony Ant Williams coming to you live with man
Let's go. Let's go.
three of my dogs right here, man. You know what I'm talking about? Well, we're gonna be back at y'all, man. I appreciate y'all for coming on, man. Tap in, man. Subscribe to the channel. Watch this clip, man. Let's run the numbers up, man. But let's give back some to the community, man. You see, my boys got their companies on the screen, man. Let's get it going, man. Let's run the numbers up, man. Subscribe to the channel and check us out, man. All right, y'all. We out.
Thank you.
Thank you.